Hi, this is Stuart Nachbar with Educated Quest. I am, well, she is live from Davidson College in North Carolina. Aislinn Whelan, she is a junior majoring in chemistry from Raleigh, North Carolina. Davidson's one of these schools I knew about only from a distance. I know about Stephen Curry. I know about Dean Rusk because I'm a history buff. But tell me about Davidson. When you were looking at colleges, what were you looking for? What led you to choose Davidson?
Yeah, I would say what brought me to Davidson was I was looking for a moderately small college. My high school, I went to a charter school in Raleigh, which was also relatively small, about 100 students per grade. And I really loved having small classroom sizes and being able to collaborate with my teachers and trying to further my learning. And so looking for a small school experience was something that I was interested in. The other colleges that I was kind of looking at were Williams College up in Massachusetts. Um, and I'd say Wake Forest was another contender, but it's a bit more medium sized because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted in a college, obviously, before getting here. But I was interested in studying environmental science coming into college. And NC State was another college close to home that I was looking at because I liked their engineering program and I liked their like broad environmental science program. And so kind of with a combination of those interests, looking at the smaller schools was a bit more difficult because I think science programs can often be a little less broad at smaller colleges. But I don't know if you want me to go into yet why I chose Davidson over other colleges. But
Please, I'd like you to.
yeah, so I guess what drove me to choose Davidson was I came to what they called Decision Davidson Day after I was accepted. It was my first time seeing the college, and when I got here, they had me sit in on a class, and I sat in on the chemistry class actually, which is funny because I would have never expected to have ended up a chemistry major, but I just thought it sounded interesting, so I sat in on an organic chemistry class which was far beyond any of my chemistry knowledge, but I had been taking AP chemistry at the time in high school. And when I came to the class, organic chemistry classes are, I guess, across the board known to be very difficult. I'd always heard of them as like large seminars where students always got lost, but I came in and sat in on this class of 30 students. And the assistant professor for the class sat with me at the table and talked to me the whole class and was like, how are you doing? Like, are you enjoying your tour day of Davidson? And I didn't feel like an alienated student who was completely lost in the discussion. There were things that I came to understand and I felt excited by, like just the experience of like being in this small classroom setting and like feeling a sense of belonging even as just a visiting student. And I think that is one of Davidson's most impressive qualities is just the ability to make students feel at home in classrooms that can often be a little frightening.
Ashlyn, you made some interesting points. The intro chemistry course and organic are often what people who work for colleges call gatekeeper courses.
Yeah.
And they're like very tall gates with big locks, and
Yeah.
you need a really good key
Yeah.
to break the lock. When you talk with your friends, if they've gone to NC State or Chapel Hill, and they're taking intro or organic, what do they tell you about their classes versus your experience?
Um, well, I can speak from somewhat personal experience. My sister Kelly went to Chapel Hill along with my sister Lily, but my sister Kelly was originally studying pre-med. She was on the pre-med track at Chapel Hill, and I think intro chem went okay for her, but once she got to organic chemistry, I think it was her either sophomore or junior year. I think she just felt like a little helpless and like with no direction. And her organic chemistry class, I think she had to drop, and from there she dropped pre-med entirely, which I don't think is a decision she regrets, but it definitely, that class was, I think, the reason that she decided she could no longer do pre-med.
What do you believe you would like to do after you graduate?
I'm not too interested in studying medicine. Again, my interest originally laid in environmental science, and so my interest in chemistry is kind of at the intersection of environmental science and chemistry, which I think will be in kind of an engineering direction. So I'm hoping after college to go to graduate school to continue my studies in engineering and chemical engineering.
That's fabulous. Now, if you had gone to, say, Chapel Hill, like your sisters, you think you'd be saying that in the second semester of your junior year?
I can't say that confidently. I have always loved science, and I think NC State was a college that I was very interested in because I love their engineering program. And I think had I gone there, hopefully I still would have been able to persevere through the engineering program there. But I know that it is quite difficult from what I've heard from.
Now, I would imagine Davidson's lived up to your expectations.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, I'm saying this, it has been difficult at times. My courses the chemistry courses here are still quite challenging. I think no one debates that. But it really helps to have professors that can assist me in it. And I think that is why I've felt at least very satisfied with my choice in college, is because I think that sense of care and effort put into my learning wouldn't happen at other colleges.
Now, you take 4 classes a term or 5?
We take 4 classes. Currently, with the pandemic, there's 4 classes is what's expected and required of students every semester that they're at Davidson. But with the pandemic, the college has been fairly accommodating and trying to make the burden of like the experience right now a little lighter on students. So they only require right now that students are taking 3 courses a semester. But many students are still opting to take 4. It's really based on personal preference. But last semester I took 3. And I think that was a good choice in light of the pandemic. It was a bit tough to handle everything. So having that exception from the college without penalty, they required less courses to graduate now. We only need I think a set of 30 classes rather than 32 to graduate, which I think is very accommodating of the college.
Now, will you have to do a senior capstone or project?
Senior capstones and senior theses are only optional if students want to pursue an honors in their prospective major. For the chemistry major, you can pursue a thesis, and that simply requires discussion with either your advisor or a professor that you'd like to do research with. As of right now, I'm not planning to pursue a thesis, but it definitely is something that's available to students if they are interested in a certain topic. I think most students choose to pursue a thesis or capstone if they have a certain project that they are very motivated by themselves, like an area of study that they decide is the area of study for them. And I don't know if I've found that for myself quite yet.
Now, okay, I'm just trying to, I just lost my train of thought here. I'm sorry. Now, how many students were in the intro class when you took it, and how many were in organic when you took it and when you visited?
Yeah, I did have AP credit coming into Davidson, and you're able to apply for AP credits. And my AP chemistry credit from high school was one of the credits I applied. So I myself did not take the intro chemistry course here. But the intro chemistry course, actually all classes at Davidson are limited to 32 students. That is the maximum that any class can have. So your intro chemistry courses will never have more than 32 students.
Now, what have been some of the most pleasant surprises since you've been at Davidson, and what have been some of the more unpleasant ones?
Think more pleasant surprises, I guess. One of the things I really didn't expect, I didn't come to Davidson knowing anyone. No one from my high school came to Davidson. No one from my high school had come to Davidson. My high school is fairly small, which is part of the reason for that. But so I came into Davidson not really knowing anyone else. And I think one of the most pleasant surprises was on my first year hall. It felt like almost an immediate sense of belonging, and I almost immediately had like 6 people who were my close friends, and they were just the people who lived beside me and my roommate. And Davidson does a really good job most times. I think it can go wrong, but they really try to do roommate selections based off Myers-Briggs personality type. So they try to match students who are or more organized with each other so that they have a more compatible rooming experience. And I think that's most times very beneficial to first year students. There are obviously some roommate horror stories, but I think it's a fairly more equitable process than at other colleges, because I know no one has to go searching through the internet for their roommate. You just take a personality test and then Davidson does the matching for you.
Are most of your classmates from the South, from North Carolina, or are they from all over?
I can't quite remember the breakdown of students, but there is a reasonably large North Carolina population at Davidson. But I think you do find that I know a lot of my closest friends here are actually from California. The international population at Davidson, I think, is about 10% of students. So 10% of students are from other countries. There are, a fairly large out-of-state population at Davidson.
Just out of curiosity, because I'm from New Jersey, have you noticed people from New York or New Jersey?
Yeah. I live at off-campus housing right now, and actually the apartment across from me is a whole collection of New York, New Jersey folks.
And have they lived up to what you've always heard? You might have heard about people from New York or New Jersey.
to some extent, yes.
Now you said you went to a school where you were a very small charter school.
Mm-hmm.
How did you know of Davidson from being there and from being where you live? Because you have the Research Triangle, you have Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, so you have some schools that are fairly well known in North Carolina there.
Yeah.
You mentioned Wake Forest. Elon is fairly well known in North Carolina, but the people here, same thing. How does Davidson? Do you think Davidson does a good job breaking through all that clutter where you are?
It's actually difficult to say, because before my senior year, before my college search process began, I wouldn't say Davidson was necessarily on my radar at schools, just because I didn't know anyone who had gone there. It is a private institution. I think a lot of students from my high school, I think my class was 120 students, and 50 of those students went to UNC and another 30 went to NC State. And so my I guess diversity of knowledge of colleges was fairly limited to like where people I knew went. But I learned of Davidson from a friend who I met at camp, and they just had the highest recommendations of Davidson. They told me it was their favorite place ever. And so that is actually the way I learned of Davidson. And then I asked my college counselor about it. And from there, kind of worked to apply.
Has Davidson helped you to find internships?
Definitely. Yeah. Actually, so last summer, I worked with a professor at Davidson doing research. And I think that's something that's fairly unique about Davidson is it is only an undergraduate institution. So the research opportunities that are available with professors here who do research are always open to only undergraduate students, which I think compared to other institutions, it's kind of hard to compete with graduate students at times for research opportunities. But that being said, yeah, the professors are super accommodating and wanting you to get research experience, wanting you to get internship experience. Our Center for Career Development I've gotten a lot of like kind of career workshops. They help you work on your resume. They're definitely super accommodating, trying to help students get jobs. And my next summer of research will also be with a Davidson professor doing physics research next summer.
Now, I had asked you earlier, what were some of the less pleasant surprises you
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it is a small school. Some people don't love that. It's 2,000 students. And I will say on a day-to-day basis, you can't walk across campus without knowing people. So if you want to keep some level of anonymity, that doesn't really happen at this college. So I guess it is a college for fairly social people because you're bound to just know everyone at a certain point.
Well, I have to ask also, given the time of year and given that I'm a college basketball fan,
Yeah.
what is the atmosphere around a basketball game like?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, for me, that wasn't maybe a consideration because I don't know. I enjoy sports a lot, but I wasn't necessarily inclined to choose my college based off the quality of sports teams. But our basketball team, definitely, the games are super exciting. It's different right now because of COVID. They are pretty limited in attendance of who's allowed to go to games. They're actually right now mainly limiting basketball games to seniors can attend because they want seniors to be able to get that chance before they graduate. But the basketball games are really fun, high energy. It's a smaller, I think, environment than, like, obviously I've been to UNC games. UNC games are huge and the atmosphere is very different and possibly more fun. But I think the exciting thing is Davidson's basketball team does compete, and I got to watch a Davidson basketball game at UNC. I think our team is good at times, bad at others, but the sports teams here, people get really excited at times, but it's definitely less present than at other colleges, just because it is so small.
And were classes, are your classes hybrid or in person right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. With COVID, Davidson has definitely all classes have a remote option because a lot of students, I think, have been taking the semester from home for safety reasons or for personal reasons. So all classes have been offered with a remote option. So any student can participate in courses from Zoom. But with that being said, I have in-person lab 2 times a week or 3 times a week at this point. And my English class, which I just attended, which is why I am in the student union currently, is also in person. And so I think, I forget exactly what the statistics are, but I think 50% of classes are either hybrid or in person.
And were they like that in the spring when people were going home at other schools?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a fairly smaller extent of courses that were maybe offered for hybrid instruction. But yeah, I had in-person lab every day last semester. And the courses that can be offered completely over Zoom, I think, are just for the professor's safety, for student safety. But the labs are definitely some of those courses that are offered mainly in person.
And did you decide to carry a minor as well as chemistry?
Yeah, I'm working towards the applied physics minor. So with my engineering interest, I take a lot of math courses and physics courses and computer science courses as well as chemistry. So applied physics kind of ropes in some of those interests.
So you could probably jump right into a master's degree in chemical engineering.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Yeah.
If you could advise your younger self, Rose, you're the youngest of 3, But if you
Yeah.
could have advised a younger self about the college admissions process, what would you tell her?
I think I don't know. I do really love Davidson, and I do recommend it to my friends that are applying to college right now. I think one of the most important things I've realized for myself in being in college is the quality of instruction. I think obviously the social atmosphere and the athletics atmosphere are very important and kind of drive into your college experience. But I think Davidson, as difficult as it is at times, I think it is a college that has very rigorous academic um, standards. So they expect a lot from students. It's a lot of homework. It's a lot of work. But that being said, I think I've learned a lot, and I think the teachers just provide a very high level of instruction that makes me feel like I am getting the most of my college tuition. And the social atmosphere also is very beneficial. But for me, that was the key to choosing a college. But I think it really depends from student to student whether they're looking for a college that will provide a ton for them socially or a ton for them with athletics. Yeah, I think it's difficult to choose a college, but Davidson is definitely one that has done a lot for me.
If you were taking someone on a tour of campus, I realize we're looking at the student union.
Yeah,
We're only looking at a little bit of it behind you.
yeah.
But what are some of the landmarks you want them to pay attention to?
Um, I think some of the most exciting landmarks to see on campus is our science building is new and really impressive in a lot of terms. I think having a beautiful campus is one of the more appealing things to a lot of incoming students. Is seeing a beautiful campus is like, whoa, I want to come here. And Davidson is definitely one of those campuses. The even just like the grass here. I was sitting out this weekend and I was just staring at the grass and I was like, how do they keep it so perfect? But the campus has like so many beautiful like the environment itself is very beautiful. It's established arboretum. I think it's got like 400 different trees. So there's always something beautiful outside to look at, but also the buildings on campus. Chambers is probably our most widely photographed building. It's our kind of like humanities class building. And it's just a really beautiful building. But besides that, what would I show incoming students? Our art collection on campus is incredible. The art galleries here have just a lot of funding, and they collect incredible sculptures from so many incredible artists and bring a ton of cool artists to campus. I actually got to meet a world-renowned artist, Yinka Shonobare, last year because I took a sculpture class my freshman year, and his sculpture was brought to campus. It's this really beautiful wind sculpture. I can send you along pictures of that in Chambers. But the wind sculpture was installed and the artist came to visit campus and I got to interact with him, have lunch with him. And that was a really incredible experience. And then recently I got to help actually build a sculpture on campus, which was awesome last year.
And is the sculpture still standing?
Yeah, it's it should be here for the next 4 years. It's made completely of sticks and wood, but it was a collaborative effort from students, community members, and the artist himself, Patrick Daughtery, who I think has done sculptures at UNC as well. But yeah, getting that experience of just like meeting these incredible artists, having lunch with them, getting to know them. The college provides so many opportunities like that for students, and like you're really able to immerse yourself in like so many different kind of avenues on campus.
Have you had lunch with a famous chemist or physicist yet?
Well, I've had, I've gotten to interview a lot of incoming professors, so you could call them famous if you'd like. But yeah, the college definitely brings so many incredible visiting professors, or even just like talks from professors around the world. And I think I don't know. They used to do lunches recently, less so because COVID, but I definitely have been able to Zoom with authors of books I read in my English classes, chemists who are doing really cool research, and just like because it's such a small school, it's like a group of 10 students talking to these authors and these artists and chemists. And so you get just kind of like to feel like you're actually getting to know someone who seems like just super cool and far away.
Now, one last question, and then you will wrap up. You mentioned you applied to Williams before.
Yes.
And I would imagine you know what happens in December and January in Williamstown, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And whenever you see pictures of snow in New England, do you ever think, God, am I glad I'm here?
I mean, it's a good question. I've lived in North Carolina my whole life, so I don't really get much snow. So I get somewhat jealous of students who get to experience snow. If you're from the north, I'm sure you don't miss it. We have incredible weather here most months of the year, and I do love the incredible weather. Would I enjoy being in a little bit of snow every now and then? Yeah. But no, the weather here, it's like 70 degrees today, sunny, beautiful. So no complaints on weather and atmosphere here at any time.
Aislinn, thank you for spending some time with me today. For helping me and people who listen to learn more about Davidson. This is really a great school. And like I said, I only knew of it because Stephen Curry went there.
Yeah.
And I know of a sports history, but there's more to a college than a basketball team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a college is a college the other 11 months of the year when there is no NCAA tournament going on. So thank you, and good luck to you. I wish you all the success.
Thank you so much. Have a great